Can one person be responsible for over 40 murders spanning throughout the United States? The FBI says yes. Stephen Morin is suspected of wreaking havoc across several states from 1969 to 1981. Although not all of the attacks can be proven to be Morin, the FBI believes he is, in fact, the one responsible for them. Morin was born into a lower class family on February 19th, 1951. He had his first run in with the law when he was just a teenager. He was arrested in Florida for car theft. Upon his release in 1968, he became a drifter, going from state to state until eventually making his way to Northern California. Although he did spend a good chunk of time in Northern California, he began to wander again. Morin is known as the forgotten serial killer, as his crimes seem to be overshadowed by the other serial killers of the time. Due to this, pictures are hard to find, and reports have been archived. In September of 1976, Morin lured an unidentified 14-year-old girl into his apartment. He proceeded to tie up and sexually assault the young girl. He would later let her go in a local shopping center. This was the first incident that put him on the FBI radar. His first confirmed murder victim was a woman by the name of Sheila Griffith. Her body was found in the remote part of the Mojave Desert on November 27, 1979. She was last seen alive leaving the Silver Bullet Casino located in northern Las Vegas on November 25th. Her body was covered with a sleeping bag and she was dumped not far from the Nevada state line. 18-year-old Susan Bilote went shopping in Las Vegas on January 16, 1980. When she did not come home, she was reported missing. 4 long months would pass without any answers to Susan's whereabouts until May 26th, when Susan's badly decomposing body was found all the way in Bloomington, California, nearly 4 hours away from her last known location in Las Vegas. Oddly, the killer placed a large stone on top of Susan's body. Why? I'm not sure. Due to the severity of decomposition, a cause of death could not be determined. The medical examiner did believe the cause of death to be strangulation due to the damage around the victim's neck. Just 1 month after the discovery of Susan, Morin would take another victim. He abducted 20-year-old Cheryl Daniel from a grocery store in Las Vegas. Again, months would pass without any answers to where Cheryl could be. It wasn't until December 13th that Cheryl's body was finally discovered all the way in St. George, Utah. Cheryl had one gunshot wound to her head. On November 6, 1981, Morin went on a date with a woman by the name of Cindy. After he dropped Cindy off for the night, Morin decided again to kidnap another unsuspecting victim. Sheila Wilson was just 23 years old when she was found stabbed to death in a motel located in Lakewood, Colorado on November 7, 1981. Pamela Jackson, 23, was forcefully abducted outside of her apartment in Corpus Christi, Texas, and for 11 days she suffered at the hands of Stephen Morin. He physically and sexually abused her multiple times a day during the 11 days he kept her captive. He forced her to alter her appearance by changing her hair color. Pamela would be lucky to get out alive. Just days later, on December 2nd, 1981, 21-year-old Jenna Bruce was abducted from a parking lot outside of her work. She walked out into the parking lot 1 minute, and the next minute, she was gone. Her body would be located the next day, floating in a shallow water on Padre Island. Cause of death: asphyxiation as a result of ligature strangulation. Morin's confidence seemed to grow. Up until this point, he only targeted women who were alone until his next attack. Not only did he attack two people at the same time, but it was a man and a woman. Morin attempted to abduct 26-year-old Pearl Lutz and 29-year-old Michael Reed. He would shoot both victims in the failed attempt. Luckily, both survived. Morin would again try his luck at attacking two people at once. He attempted to carjack 21-year-old Carrie Scott and her friend, 25-year-old Drew Valdez. He again would shoot both victims. Drew was wounded but survived, while Carrie would succumb to her injuries. Morin's time of violence was coming to an end, as authorities were aware of the abductions, murders, and attempted murders. They were finally closing in on him. Police tracked him down to the Sands Hotel in San Antonio, Texas. Police stormed his room as he fled through the bathroom window. In the room, they would find 23-year-old Pamela Jackson, putting an end to her 11-day nightmare. They would also find Morin's companion, 32-year-old Sarah Clark. The next day, Morin would appear at a Kmart parking lot and forced Margaret Palm at gunpoint to drive him to a bus station where he planned to purchase a ticket to Austin. Authorities were one step ahead and arrested Morin when he arrived at the bus station. Morin would officially be charged with the murders of Carrie Scott and Jenna Bruce. Authorities believed that due to lack of evidence, they would not be able to convict him on the other Texas victims. Morin would plead guilty and be sentenced to death February 1984. After this conviction, he would be extradited to Colorado for the murder of Sheila Whalen. He again would be sentenced to death. After this conviction, he was supposed to be extradited to Utah, but for reasons unknown, this did not happen. In the end, Morin would be investigated for 48 different murders spanning across several states, including Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Washington, Idaho, Indiana, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Texas, New York, and California. Morin would be executed by lethal injection on March 13, 1985. Morin's last words were, quote, "Father, forgive these people, for they know not what they do. Forgive them as you have forgiven me, and I have forgiven them. Lord Jesus, I commit my soul to you." End quote. So do you think this one man could possibly be responsible for 48 murders spanning all across the U.S.? Why would he commit these horrible murders? Did his companion, Sarah Clark, know he was committing these crimes? Did she aid him in carrying out these crimes, or was she a victim herself? I do hope the families of all of the victims get the peace that they deserve.